All right, so quickly, as usual, probably we are already familiar with these steps. Okay, so what we want to do is we're gonna open up our project folder. Please, not the folder that contains your environment and your project, but then just your project folder. So I mean your project folder, I'm basically referring to your main folder, or whatsoever name you actually named. You then go ahead and open the folder that contains your API files. That's the folder you're gonna open up, and before then, we're gonna do what we're gonna make sure that our environment is working, right? We're gonna make sure that our environment is working, and for my own ends, um, my own API will be running on a different port. Reason being that the other application that I'm thinking is of the default port. So it just is running on port 8000, there is no problem. Man, I will specify a different port. Okay, so quickly, let's do that. So I will navigate to our project folder. So I believe that by now we are familiar with these steps. And I also believe that by now our project folder is open before us. Okay, so in my case, this is where my project folder is. Right. So I'll open up the main folder in VS Code. Like I said, if you have the option of opening this by right clicking it, and then you have the option of open with VS Code, then you can go ahead and open that with VS Code. Right. But if you don't have that option, okay, then there is no problem. You can still open it from your command prompt. So I'll open mine from the command prompt. So I'll simply just change direction to our project folder, right? But before moving to the main folder, I want to make sure that our environment is up and running. So to activate that, we simply say environment name, which in my case is what is VENV backslash scripts backslash activate. And then I'll change directory to the main folder, the CD main. So that is our actual folder that contains our API files. So I'll open up this in VS Code. And this was where we left off in our previous class. This was where we left us in our previous class. So we're gonna basically be writing a lot of our code in this single file, and then when we get to a point where we have multiple files, we're gonna talk about how we can manage multiple project files. For now, we're basically going to write our entire code within this main.py file, within that main.py file. So I'll simply just shrink this so that gets bigger, and then zoom this out a little bit. All right. So what exactly are parameterized routing, or what exactly do we mean by putting a parameter in a route, or why do we need to put a parameter in a route? Okay. So first of all, what exactly is parameters? So parameters are basically values that we pass to our API route or our API endpoint or our API URL. So we can pass these values in different ways, which I'm going to look at each of those ways. So basically, that's what these parameters are. They're basically values that we specify or we pass to our endpoint, similar to how your to function parameters, right? So there are function that we send to the function that is being used within your function body. So that same concept works with parameterized route. So they're basically what values that we send to our URL, right? To our URL, and then these values are being passed to our route function. When I mean route function, I mean the function that is handling what that specific route. So that value is being sent to that route function, and then we can use that value within our function body to do what to manipulate anything. So there are different ways these values can be passed. There are a lot of ways that it can be passed. And for those of us that don't really know how these values actually look like, or what we use these values for, is that these values are being used, or you want to actually make your route to be parameterized if you intend to use that value to do what to get a specific resource. Right. So within your database, there could be a lot of what resources. and then a user may be looking for a specific resource. So what do? We do what we provide a route that does what, that accepts these values, and then what we capture that value and do what, use it to fetch a specific resource, and then do what, probably send it back or manipulate it, what as the case may be. Do we understand? Do we understand?
Sir, please come again.
All right. So I'm talking about why we need or why do we need our path to contain what parameters. So I'm basically saying that at times we want a specific path or a specific URL or a specific endpoint or a specific route to do what, to contain what, a specific kind of value that we intend to do what, to use to get a specific resource from what, or resources from our server side, and probably send it back to the client side, or probably use it for manipulation within what, our server script, and then do what, send out a desired result. A typical example of a parameterized or a route that is likely going to contain parameters or accept values. So a typical example for a route that's likely going to contain values could be your phone. Now, when you navigate to a browser, a browser like this, okay, to a browser like this, say, let's look at browser. Let's look at uh, website, any kind of website. Let's look at any kind of website. Any kind of website. Let's look at one. Just looking for one that. Okay, so let's look at this. So this is a typical example of a website, right? And then if we look at this website, we have some wonderful designs here, right? Which these designs looks outdated to me, if you ask me. This design looks outdated, but we have what a wonderful design here. Okay, we're not here to criticize someone's work, right? So now within for this site, okay, if we click on sign up, for instance, okay, then what happens is this. It made, okay, that's not what we wanted. If okay, let's probably if we click on, let's just start for free for now. I'm looking for where we will likely have, okay, exactly this is what we have, is what a form. So we have like this that look like what a form, and then this form, once we submit this form is being sent to what, to a specific URL, right? You as the end user, you may not actually see it, but behind the scene, all this information is what is being collected and what and sent to a specific URL, right? Now this information can be used to either what, create an account for you, or either use what to manipulate or get any certain information, right? And do what, and send back a desired output. So that's one way that we can do what, that we can, or one way that we can use parameters. So now that particular route that this form is being sent to gives room for what, for accepting values, which in this case could be what, form values. Then there are other ways that we can also send values back to uh, our route. Okay, it may not actually be from form values like this. At times it may be from the URL itself. So if you look at this URL, if you look at my top URL, this URL that we have here, right? We have a question mark, right? A question mark after that. We have a question mark right here after the last slash. So there's a question mark right there. This man there, right? And then within, after that question mark, we have value that comes in pairs. The variable, the value name alongside with the value itself, which is what source is equal to what sc, right? Now those values there within that parameter can still be extracted in your server side and were used for manipulation as well. And then these kind of values are not seen as form values; they are seen as what, as query values, right? So that's like the second way of passing information back to our data, to our server side. Okay, so basically, So, or what I'm trying to say in summary is that we need these parameters to do what, to send values from the client side to what, to the server side. And these values can be used either to extract a specific resource or resources, or used for what, for manipulation, whichever the case may be. Do we understand? Do we understand? Should I come again?
So, sorry. Is this only from the client side that you are sending values to the URL? Can you send values from the server side?
Yes, you can send values from the server side, but then you are the server side, and then you sending values to yourself doesn't really, fulfill the purpose of parameters, right? So parameters are like where it's like a medium where your client side can communicate with your server side. Okay. So they provide you with multiple ways where the client can send values down to the server side, and the server side can know what, can receive these values, process it and know what, and send a desired result. So sending a value from a server side to a server side, well, you guys can send value from a server side to another server side. Okay, so let's assume that within your let's say within your application, you have a payment platform or a payment system that makes of let's say Paystack, and then you need what, a client information, right, for Paystack to do what, to process that payment. Now you are a server side, but then you are not the one processing what, the payment. So in that case, you can do what, you can get these values, right, and then send this value from your server side to what, to Paystack, get the desired result, and then send it back to what, to this client side. So if you're sending value from server side, you're very likely going to send the value probably to another server side to do what, to get a specific value. Right? But then sending value to your own server from your server side again, like it violates the whole purpose of parameters. You understand?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Not that it won't work, but then the whole purpose of it is being violated. Any other question? Any other question? Any
Sir,
other question? Okay.
sir, sir Duncan, I just want to understand you. You're saying that
All right.
these parameterized routes are just used for communication between the client side and the server side. That is its purpose.
There is specific values
Okay, okay,
between client side and server side.
okay, sir, I understand.
All right. So Faster API have given us what, there many ways which you can do what, which these values can be sent from the client side to the server side. I'm going to look at them one after the other. We're going to look at them one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. All right, so we're going to look at the simplest form in which values can be sent, in which values can be sent. And one of the ways is using what, a path parameter. So I'll put a comment here and I'll call this path parameter. Path parameters. All right, so what exactly is our path parameters, or what is that, or how do we pass values through path itself? So when we talk about path, all right, when we talk about path, we talk about your URL. Your URL. So you can have a simple URL like, let's say HTTPS, right? Colon // www.codecamp.com, right? And then we can make what, this particular URL to have, to contain what, a path parameter. So a path parameters is basically a value that exists within your path. So we can have this whole path like this whole URL, but then also contain what, a value here, right? A value there. And this value is dynamic. It could be any value. It could be any value, right? So it means that that assuming I wanted this value, right? Assuming I am aiming that that this value should basically be what student names, right? I'm assuming I am aiming, I'm hoping that this value there should be what student's first name. Probably the reason for that is that so that I can do what I can extract that name and do what and probably get their record from what from the database. It could be my own purpose, right? So it means that that if you have another URL like this, okay, another URL like this that contains www.codecamp.com/Duncan, right? That this URL what is a valid URL. I can also have another URL that don't know that where Duncan is no longer is no longer Duncan, but then what makes it that makes it was still a valid URL. And you can have another one that contains a name like Khaled, and that will still be what a valid URL. Are we making sense? So now this value here now becomes what a path parameter, right? A space where we can know where we can provide any value attached to what to that path. Now this value can live anywhere. It could be here, probably before even going to www.com. It could be it depends on how you want to style your URL. But then that value can exist anywhere. All right. We can also have a station where value can be what can be just a number. It can also be what a float, 10.7, and these are all valid parameters. But then you may be thinking, okay, so if I go to this page, let's say I'm on the client side, right? And then I navigate to www.codecamp.com/Duncan. Will I have the same page with www.codecamp.messy? Yes, you have the same page, but different information. Do you understand? Do we understand? Right, so the sellers means that we understand. So that's basically what path parameters. They are like dynamic values. They are like dynamic values that you can know that we can attach to what to our URL, and we can customize it anyhow. Probably, I could also have another path parameter, right? That may look like this. www.codecamp.about me slash my probably my name. That's so now here becomes what okay value one. Where value one, I intend what value one to be what to be the any person's first name, right? And I could also have value two, right? So similar to how you can have as many parameters to a function, you can have as many parameters to what to your URL. You can have as many path parameters for a single URL. There's no limit, right? There is just no limit. Okay, so where this will now become what? We remember where I said that value one should be what a name, and probably value two should be what age, right? So here, this will now be probably my name here, and then my age here will now come in like let's say 5,000, and that's the what that becomes what a valid URL, right? Where savior is a path parameter, 5,000 is what is another path parameter. So it simply means that that if this was the case, if a user should try to access www.codecamp/about me without providing those values, it simply means that this URL does not exist within what our system, because our system is expecting what two other values, right? Which are dynamic values. It could be any value, similar to what how your path parameters, sorry, how your function parameters can be any value. But then you can do what you can write a variation to check that what that the value is what is a required kind of value that what that you're hoping to what to get. When we get to the variation, we look at that. Do we understand? Do we
Yes.
understand? All right. So let's look at how that can be implemented, how we can implement parameters. So I'll comment on this, reference it, and I'll just put it up. So to implement path parameters is easy and simple, right? So similar to how we've been doing when we've been constructing our endpoint, we can construct same. We can construct same. And this one here, I may likely say that this should be what about me, right? But
Sorry, sir.
then, okay.
Sorry, in the example you gave earlier, the about me is not a path. It's just the savior and the 5,000 that are the path. So what is about me?
The about me is part of the path. The savior and the factor becomes the expected parameters. So it means that we cannot have www.codecamp.com/savior/factor. It means that about me must be there. It's part of the path, right?
Okay.
Yes, it's part of the path. Let me show us a typical example again of path parameter. So if I go to blog site, we did something like that in our previous class. And I think we did that with let's look at this one. Let's look at this one. And let's look at one wonderful blog. Yeah. Right, so okay, right, fine, perfect. Let's look at this. Right, so these are a lot of news that we but then we can guess an ID. So what do I mean? That if I click on this man, if I should click on this man, then this man should open what this news for me. But then if I click on another news, let's see what's happening as well. So while I'm waiting for that to load, let's look at another blog. Okay. So with that actually came up. All right, so this thing is taking us to every blog here is being paid these days. Wonderful. Let's look at there's a page we used in our previous class. Let's see. So it happens that these days blogs are not free any longer. So let's look at news sites. News sites. Let's look at NBC News. Perfect. NBC News. Right. So now within this platform, right, we have a whole lot of news. We have a whole lot of news. And if I go to the category of business, I believe that should be blog category. So you can see that that you see this URL there, right? You see that the URL is what is nbcnews.com/ what business. If I should also click on spot, I'm sure that I'll also have the similar URL, but then probably the business there will be replaced with what with spot. So let's try that. Let's try that with spot. So I click on spot, and then you will see that what exactly as I said, that what that we have a similar URL, probably what that this last person will be replaced. So what is that telling me? That what that last value after that what is a path parameter. And what I'm using this parameter for is that they use it to do what to filter out all the news that belong to what to that specific category. So when you click or when you navigate to that URL, what happens is that behind the scene, that value there is being fetched and used for filtering. So it goes to its database and filter out every news that belongs to the category of what or sports. So the URLs I think one thing about path parameters is that the URLs are almost going to be look alike, and probably one or two parts of it will likely be what be dynamic or will likely be what be changing, and that's what we are actually seeing right there. You understand? That's a typical example of a path parameter. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's perfect. So let's see how we can do how we can construct similar thing, right? Let's see how we can construct similar thing. So in this case, probably I want to go to the about section of an individual, but then I want to do what I want to do. Probably I want to when we're navigating to a specific about section, I want to do what I want to make use of a path parameter where people can do what can provide their names, and I'll use what their name to do what to fetch their information, right, and send back to the client. That's what we want to do what to implement. That's what we want to implement. That's what we want to do what to actually implement. So let's see how we can do that. Let's see how we can do that. So then in our case here, right, I want our name to come after what the about dash me. So after your about dash me, I want a institution where you can provide your names. In this case, Messi can come in here, right? And do what, and I should be able to do what to fetch Messi from there to do what to fetch specific information pertaining to what to Messi. And at the same time, someone else can simply say their name like Joseph, right? And I want to do what use Joseph, and I should be able to do what to fetch that name Joseph from that path parameter and do what and fetch a specific information pertaining to what to Joseph. Same thing happens with Collins. Also, I also want to do what to fetch that name and do what and filter the information pertaining to what to Collins or whatever the case may be. But then whatever values is what, but then the case or the thing here is that whatever values is being provided after the about me, I want to do what I want to fetch that value, right? I want to fetch that value. So how do we do this? How do we make that place to be a dynamic value, or how do we make that place to, or how do we make this route to do what to be expecting a value after that? Because as it is now, right? If we try to do what, if we try to access this URL, right, nothing will actually happen, right? Because it's as basic as our previous URL that we've been doing so far. So I'll make this to what to be a GET request, and I'll just say about information. About information. Okay, about info, and then for now, I'll just say coming soon. So that information is coming soon. It's coming soon, right? So let's navigate to our browser and let's see if we can do what if we can fetch what that particular endpoint. So I will run my own I'll run my server. I remember I'll run mine on a different port. So yours you can run it on a default port if you don't have other application conflicting with port numbers. So in my case here, it will be UVCon, and the file name, which case is main, along with the instance of fast API, which is the app, and then I'll do dash port, right? Now this port here is so that I can specify a port where what this my development server should run on. But if you don't have any other application that is conflicting with your port, then you will not need this part of dash port, right? But for me, I need it because I can't run on port 8000 by default, because by default your first API will run on port 8000, and have something actually running on port 8000 at the moment, and I cannot stop that event at the moment. So I have to provide a new port. So in this case, I'll provide port 8080, right? And then dash reload and run that. And that will do what? That will spin up our server and run it on what? On port 8080 for me. Like I said, if you don't have anything conflicting, you do not need to specify the port, and that will run on port 8000 as default. So I would not use Postman, but you can easily use Postman. The reason why I'm not using Postman is that I'm not seeing or doing any post request anytime soon. But if there's need for us to type out a post request, then I'll bring up Postman. Okay, so I'll paste this, and then by default this should tell us that we don't have. Okay, so there's an endpoint that actually does that. So, but then we want to navigate to what to about me. So I can just simply copy this and navigate to what to about me, to about me. So I'll paste this there, and we have what we have the about information, the about info, and then what's coming soon. Now the thing here is that after this about me, I want a situation where I can provide probably savior here, right? And I'll do what, and I'll get the response for what, for a specific result for what, for savior, right? Excuse me. Or probably I can also provide Messi here, and know what, and I will get a specific result for what, for Messi. Or probably provide a Collins here, and do what, and also provide a, and also do what, fetch a specific data pertaining to what, to Collins, similar to what is happening here in the BBC, in the NBC what news, where if you go to a specific category, it fetch what, it fetch news pertaining to what, to that category, right? So we're going to implement that same thing. So far we have not have that in ours. That's why we're having what, that URL or that endpoint cannot be what, cannot be found. It's not available on on our on our software at the moment. We don't have a URL that says after the about me, there's what, there are other values. At the moment, we do not have it. So that means we need to do what? We need to find a way of letting Fast API know that immediately after the about me, that what, that we are expecting what other values. But those other values we do not know. They are dynamic, right? They are supposed to come from where? From the client side, right? They're coming from the client side. But then we need to make a room where those values can be inserted and where that endpoint cannot be visited without that values, right? So to do that, we go back to our URL, and then of course those values should come in here. So here we have saved, right? So this is where those values should come in at the end of our URL. In this case, remember this thing can be anywhere. It come at the front, center, wherever you want to place it, it doesn't really matter. Fast API will just know that those ones are what are path parameters. So in this case, once the situation where whatever values that comes after that last slash to want to be dynamic, and then we just should be able to want to provide those values. So to make that happen, we use curly braces. So if I come here and I put curly braces there, and then within these curly braces, we need to do what, we need to provide a name. We need to provide a name within these curly braces. We need to provide a variable name for these curly braces, which in this case I could say student underscore name. So then it simply means that what, that after this slash, right, that there is a room for what, for additional values, and whatsoever values is being passed there should be considered what, student name, should be considered student name. So what happened here is a student, so there should be end there, student name. So whatever values is being passed there is being considered what, as student name. So the thing here is that once we type those values, Fast API also expect that value should be what, should be sent to your function body. So as such, when you provide a path parameter, you must also specify that parameter in your function, because automatically, well, Fast API will fetch that data and send it to your function parameter as well. So you have to also provide the same name in your function parentheses. So I'll copy this name here, right? Paste it there, right? And that is that. So now that simply means that there is what, that after going to about me slash, that the about me slash can calculate any value, and then whatever value that is being typed there should be considered as what, student name, right? So if you go back again and then we try to go to about me without specifying any name, then we have an error saying that URL does not exist. Right? So if I go now, then we have the expected error, right? Saying that URL does not exist. Now, the reason why that error does not actually exist is because we've made room for additional values to be provided after the bar slash. That's after the last slash, right? We are expecting more values, and then that value is seen as what, or is considered as what, as a student name. So that's why if you go to about me without the student's name, it will not work. Same thing happens here, which I'm sure that if I should clean this spot, okay, this will just take me back to what, to the homepage in this case, right? So there's an endpoint so that would actually work in this case. But then at times, when these bullets are not being provided, there is no other endpoint that has the meaning part of that endpoint. Right? So in that case, we need to provide any value. So these values can be anything. It can be one. So now if I type in one day and click enter, then that actually what that work. Then mean that I can type in any value there. It could be any value, it could be here, and that still work with any value as far as we've provided a value after the last slash. Right? But then know that whatever value is being provided there is being considered or is being seen as what, as student name, right? As student name. So I can still provide columns there, and that will still work. But then you may be wondering, how are we sure that we'll be able to do what, to extract columns from what, from that URL? So that has actually happened. And then we could show that by just simply showing what the student's name. So in this case, we just put F there, and then remember this is what string formatting. And then within my string, I could just say information pertaining to whatsoever is being typed in. So I'll type here information relating or concerning whatsoever value is being passed, right? So if I go back again and refresh this, then this should work as expected. So you have what, information concerning what, callings. Now if I pass another value, say Messi, I have what, information concerning what, Messi. If I pass another name, say Caleb, then this will also be what, information pertaining to who, to Caleb. So it means that that value is what is being extracted and is being sent to your function, and then you can access it within your function, your route function, right? Your route function. Then you have that information concerning what, Caleb. Do you understand? So here now becomes what, a path parameter. It becomes what, a path parameter, and what, a required argument as well. So it means that after the about me, we need what, that we must also have what, a specific value after that. Do we understand?
So I have a
Yes.
question.
All right. All right.
So I am using the URL that we got from the UVCon, and I'm also using the endpoint, but Chrome is showing me this site can't be reached. Ever since the last class, I wanted to implement what we did in the last class, but Chrome is still showing me that error.
So you mean that you've been with this error since Wednesday last week? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean I was not in class on Wednesday. I watched the class. So yes, I have been with the error since about Saturday.
That Chrome cannot reach this page. Let's set us a screenshot in the chat session. Let's see how we can understand
Okay,
your
sir.
error properly.
Okay, sir.
All right.
Sorry, excuse me, sir.
Your hand is up.
Hello?
Is that Mr. First?
No, that's Chinazom.
Okay, China has up. You can ask a question.
Yeah, you said earlier that the path can be anywhere.
Yes, it can be anywhere.
Can you show an example of where else it can be other than where you're showing?
All right, so I can still decide that I want a path parameter, not after, but then before. So that's so somewhere here, and that will still work. So it means that after your domain, that what is first what your name, and then the about, and then if you go back, and then we try to refresh this page, then we have an error, right? That's because we are providing what, the value where it should not be. So the value in this case is expected to come before this. So we go back again, and then we provide the value, say Caleb in this case, before what they about me and click on enter. Oh, that took me to another code. Okay, so that actually works. So you see. So let me copy that and close this. Hopefully I don't close the actual thing. Right, so come back here and then we press that. And so that actually now work. Information concerning what Caleb. So in that case, the path parameter is no longer at the end, but somewhere there. So I can still put columns there, and that will still work. I can still put Chinazam, right? Chinazam, at least. And that will still do what work. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So Miss Precious, your hands up.
Good evening, sir. But please, I'm having the same error.
You having what?
The same error. This site can't be read.
I don't think I heard that question properly. You having what error exactly?
The same error with the other guy that Chrome is not responding.
Of the same error that of Chrome not being able to view your endpoints.
Yes, sir.
All right, so please, you guys can just give us a screenshot in the chat section. Let's see how you can help all of us out. All right, so while waiting for that, we will still continue. So just drop a screenshot here. Let's make sure that will resolve your problem completely. All right. So the one that is coming up, we will still do what we will still continue. We will still continue. So that is that about what? That is that about path parameter. See, it's that simple. Whereas your parameter, like I said, it can contain as many parameters as what as possible. So I can still have another parameter, right? Another route, but the next route will contain probably 2 to 3 path parameters, right? And I would say that this URL should contain probably we need your maybe age. We may also need it will be whatever domain, probably domain.codecamp.com slash your age slash your probably height. Of course, you wouldn't want to do this in your route. Also, this is just for a demonstration sake to demonstrate that what that your path can contain as many path parameters as possible. So you can put your height, probably your width. But then you wouldn't want to do this, bro. But just for to demonstrate that yes, this man can contain a lot of things. So you can have your age, so put 100, right? Probably 5.9. Weight, just maybe over 100 grams or 100 kg. I mean, over 100 kg. So I put 100 as weight. And you see that is okay. Sorry. So remember, we need to do what we also need to provide these people. Remember, these people should be provided. The same name should be provided. So we put that. So we also provide student height, student weights. Okay, and we could refresh that, and this should work. Right, so that actually did work. That really work. Okay, so I think we have photograph. So it says that you cannot reach this site, sir. From your end, and then need to or from your endpoint, of course, it's impossible to reach that site because send me a screenshot of your endpoint, at least one of your endpoints. Let me see what you know. Duncan aware of that of what I just said. Mr.
Yes,
Duncan, provide us with a screenshot of one of the endpoints.
okay, sir.
While waiting for Mr. Duncan, sorry, not Mr. Duncan, provide us with that screenshot Question pertaining to path parameters. 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 Right, so we should buckle up. Last week there was no tax. So this week there will be what? There will be tax. And just to inform you, as we go up the ladder, the tax becomes very wonderful, very, very wonderful and interesting. Right? So I hope that you buckle up and please make sure that if you are owing us tax, sort yourself out before the new tax. Because I believe if we are all promoted and if we are all graded and promoted and we are on the same level, the moment that tax drop, you will see it that same day. So I want to make sure that I want to advise us that all we do, if you are owing me tax, or if I'm owing you grading, whoever is going to let us resolve ourselves so we can be on the same page on or before the end of tomorrow. On or before the end of tomorrow. All right, so while those images are loading, question. The dump time, okay. Right. That should work. So dump can also provide me with your terminal. Let me be sure that your terminal is what is up and running. Provide me with your terminal, Mr. Dumper. Provide me with your routes are correct. Provide me with your terminal. I want to see your terminal like this. Provide me with this. Make sure that you're at the bottom of the terminal, like you're seeing this cursor blinking. Then send me that screenshot.
Okay, sir.
Sure, it is working for you. Miss Precious also provide me with your terminal as well. Route is correct. Provide me with terminal as well. So I can see that that's all right. Question pertaining to path. Question pertaining to path. Right, so the silence means there is no question pertaining to path parameter. Right, so let's look at what another means that fast API was provided for us, where the clients can send information and then we ship it at the back, at the server side or at the back end. Right? We are all back end engineers. We are all back end engineers. Right. So the other means is called query parameters. Query parameters. Other query parameters. So what exactly are these query parameters? And how are they different from path parameters? And where do we provide them? Is it also in the path, similar to how we give the path parameter? Is it also in the path? So I don't think you provided me with your terminal. What you provided there is your Google Chrome. Near your terminal. Go to your CMD or your wherever your server is running. Want to be sure that server is running up correctly. Because if it's not running, you cannot access it. That's the thing. The server is down, your API cannot work. Right. So query parameters are similar to path parameters, except that the way query parameter works is this. Let's see if I can find a working one, and then probably show us how this will work. Query. Okay, so let's see. Let's message for Nigeria. Don't really know what I will show. I'm looking for something. Or perfect. So with perfect. So you see that we have result that contains Nigeria in either in the title or somewhere. So basically, it return what news or information that contains Nigeria. But that's not the case. What I want you guys to see, that has covered that. What I want you guys to at least see here is not actually this result right? What I want you guys to actually look at here is what is the URL. You can see what a URL up there. And then what do you notice? What I just typed actually showed there. And then what happened? There is what a question mark that carries what a variable called Q and alongside what we just typed. That is exactly what is a query parameter. So query parameters are basically those parameters that come after what a question mark in a URL. There are values that comes after a question mark in a URL. They come in pairs where it contains where the variable name alongside with what the values. They come in pairs. A variable name alongside with what a value. So like how we have a variable here called Q and then what Nigeria. So that becomes what this makes this thing here become what a query parameter. So they usually come after a question mark in the URL, right? So they basically come after a question mark in the URL and they come in paste. Unlike the path parameter where we simply just type in our value, this one says that you must provide a question mark, provide a variable, and equality sign alongside what with the value itself, with the value itself. All right, so give me a second. Let us see how we can help our fellow brethren in the ministry. So it says that this man here has no more domain. As such, your server is not running. That is why you cannot access it. So it says no module main. In your server, and then let me see. Please confirm that you are in the directory of your file. What do I mean? Let me see what Mr. Duncan has so I can just address both of them at the same time. That's inspirations. You can have many path parameters. Yes, we know, but then that is supposed to be a comment. That's why that is your server is not running, Mr. Duncan. You have something that's written out that's not a Python language. It's a plain English. So I put it in what in a comment. I put it in a comment. You can have many parameters. When you've commented that line out, I think that should be your line 45. Once you've commented that line out, then that should now work. Your server should now work. So your server is not running. That's why you cannot access your API. Then Ms. Precious, please confirm that you are in the same directory where you have your main.py. And how do you know that? When you end your server, you can end your server by doing Control C. Control C will terminate your server. So do Control C, and then you should now have this your directory, right? Your directory, and then go ahead and type the command dir. Dir will do what? Will simply list all the files and folders within that current directory. So when you do dir, you want to make sure that you are seeing what you are seeing main.py. You are seeing main. Leave the first two dots there. It means that you have some hidden files. It's not your problem. And probably from the third listing should be your files. So you want to make sure that you've seen a file that's called main.py. So probably you are outside this folder. That's why you can't find that file. Or Fast API can't find the file main.py. Please confirm that you are there. If you're not there, right? So, but then if you do this, if you do directory like this, and then you are seeing main folder with VNB folder, but once you see VNB folder, just know that you can run directory. And what do? You want to do cd change directory into what the main folder, and then this is where you should now kind of ask your UV con main column app dash dash reload. Please do that and let us know that that is working for you. Then from Mr. Duncan, please comment at the line that you said that Fast API can what was there again? Sorry. Thing that that says that we have many ways of that path parameter can have many path parameters. Please comment that line and let me know if it's working.
Sir, it has worked.
It has worked.
Yes, sir.
Please, Ms. Pressure, we are waiting for you as well.
Sir, please, the Control C is not working.
Sorry?
I'm pressing Control C, but nothing is happening.
Yes, Control C should end the server. It means that your server should no longer be running. What do I mean? Because that now my server is running at the moment. That's why you're having there's no room, there's no ability to see what my directory at the moment. So and then you see that the cursor that is blinking there, it means that your server is what is running. If you look at my CMD now, a cursor is blinking. It means that my server is running. So if I should end this, if I should do Control C, then you see that that ended. That I can now have wait to now type, right? Wait to now type. So Control C should just bring you back to something like this. Please confirm that is working.
So it's not bringing me back to anything. It's not even working.
It's not even working. All right. So what I want you to do again is to close your terminal, open it back up, and just navigate back down again and try running your server again. Probably it will be system glitch. Maybe a lot of applications are running behind the scene and it's occupying your memory and such, making your development server to be lagging. So what you want to do is you go ahead and just close your command prompt or wherever you did run the command, close it and then open it back up, navigate to the project folder, activate your environment, and then turn on your server and let's see. Let us know if that actually works once you've done that. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
All right. All right, so let's continue. Continue. All right. So query parameters, like I said, they are basically parameters that comes after what a question mark that carries what a name alongside what a value. So the query carry a name alongside what a value, which in this case the name here is what is Q and the value here is what is Nigeria. But and the value here is Nigeria. So behind the scene or in your path function, what you get is what is the value and not the name. No one cares about the name. Right? Just need the value. And how do we do this? How do we do this? It's simple. So let me give us an example as I've done here. Probably a question mark here comes and then student name, maybe student name, student on the student name underscore name equals to that. And that is how it looks like, right? A few examples here, like we've done with the path. So the name can be Duncan, name can be Messi, name can be Caleb, it can also be an integer, can also be what? A float. So same thing will also happen here, where we can have this reward value. So you can have as many query parameters as possible, right? Yes. So this is the tricky part. We can have as many query parameters as possible, but then it's not actually done the way we did the way we actually provide the path parameter. Now, if you have multiple query parameters, we add them by using what the ampersand sign. What do I mean? So if I have value one here as a query parameter, so here would was probably student name is equals to what value one, and then I have another query, and then I'm expecting more than one query parameter. Then I could do what you can only have one question mark placed in your URL, so you can't actually come here and do another question mark and then put another query, right? So what you can do is you can add more, you can combine them by using what ampersand sign, ampersand sign. So to do that, excuse me, to do that, we use what ampersand, and then we do what we provide around value. Probability around should be student age, and then what the value. Do you understand that? So when you have more than one like this, you know what you add them what with ampersand. There's no exclamation, there's no question mark. So one single question mark, the query name, the value, and another query name, another value. If there's more, and then you keep doing that, keep using the ampersand sign to do what to add the query parameters. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So the silence means that we do understand.
Please
Right.
come again.
Sorry?
Please come again.
All right. So I'm saying that for a query parameter, right? That query parameters are basically parameters that comes after what your question sign. in your URL, a question mark sign in your URL, which I show us a typical example of one, which is what we have here. So I search for what for Nigeria, and then it returns what it takes me to what to this URL, right? Where the Nigerian that what we typed here actually was a value in the URL, making Nigeria what a query value and Q what a query parameter. So what happened here is that it actually send the value to your server side, and then it's used for either filtering of information or whatever manipulation you see fit, right? So it also saves the same means as a path parameter, right? It saves the same means as a path parameter, except that for path parameters you just write out those values. But then for queries has to come after a question mark, right? After a question mark. So in this case, to have a query parameter, it simply looks like this, where you have what a question mark and then followed by what the query parameter alongside with the query value. And then another say that where we have more than one query parameters, that we can provide the other ones after an ampersand sign, right? What do I mean? So if I wanted to collect name and age, right, as query parameter, right? So instead of doing this, similar to of how pass parameter works, right? Now I could do that by doing what? By providing the query parameter. Remember, after what a question sign, after a question mark sign, you remember the query parameter alongside with the value, that becomes what one query parameter. But if there's other expected parameter, then we can add that by doing what? By providing an ampersand sign. This sign here is called ampersand. Then after that sign, you can provide the other query parameter, which in this case student age alongside what with another value. So if there was another query parameter, then I'll simply just do what? Put another ampersand sign and do what? Provide the query parameter alongside with the query value. Do we understand? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, so the question means that we understand. It's precious. I'm still waiting for your feedback. All right, so let's do that. Let's see how you can do what make a query parameter. So I will just remember over time we just start doing copy and pasting and then edit, right? So we create one endpoint, and this endpoint I will simply call it search. I simply call this one search. And then to actually get to search, you must do what? You must provide a query parameter, right? A query parameter. And how do we provide a query parameter? A query parameter, we simply provide it in a as a function, parameter. So you don't provide it in a path in your path decorator, similar to what we did here. But then we do what? We simply provide a variable in your function, which in this case, I will call it variable Q. Right? So Q then now becomes what my query parameter. It could be anything, it could be probably name if you want. So name here now becomes what a query parameter. So meaning that any variable you provide in your function, if that variable is not provided as a variable in a path, it is automatically considered a query parameter. So it means that if I should go back to our previous code and then I remove this from the path, it automatically means that everything that we provided here will become what a query parameter. So as such, a Python will expect this value to come after a question sign alongside with what their values. So that's basically how we can provide how we can make room for a query parameter. So we can make room for a query parameter by simply doing what? Providing the query name in the function, in the route function, which in this case the query name is what is name. So name then becomes what your query parameter. So I could say search concerning what? Name, right? So whatever we provide as the search as the query parameter, they want to actually show it there. So Ms. Precious, I saw your hands up before I proceed.
So it's working now.
Ms. Precious, your hands up.
Please, Yes, sir.
It's working
It's
now.
working. Yes,
All right.
sir. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, that is fantastic. So that means you were in the wrong directory. Perfect. All right. So like I was saying, that query is what you can actually just provide a variable within your route function, and that variable will automatically be seen as what as a query parameter. But then, if I also provide the same variable in a path like this, it simply means that that variable one is now what a path parameter. But if I just put it there like that, then it sees it automatically as a query parameter. It means that when you navigate to search URL, that it is expected to know what to provide a query parameter that has the name. That's weird. Let's put something there. Let's put something else there that has the name Q, right? And then that Q should have some values after what an equality sign, right? So that what it means there. It means that if I should go to Q, I should do what? I should have an error saying that there's an expected query parameter called Q that we've not done, that we've not provided. Then that parameter must be called Q, right? But then you'll be wondering, how will the front end guys know, or how will the client know that the parameter should be provided as Q? Of course, that's where your documentation comes in, because as an API developer, you must also provide documentation saying that for this particular endpoint, you must give a query parameter, and that query parameter must be called Q. Right. So now let's navigate to that, and let's see if that does work. So if I go back to our endpoint and I simply just go to search, I should now have an error, right? Saying that what? Saying, right? So it means my server is not running. And truly, it wasn't running. So let's put that back on. So now if we go back again and then refresh, then it says what details not found. Details not found. Right. That's because okay. I spelled my search wrongly here. Right, so that's the search. So that's a search. So search. So the difference that search will do what will that needs to be updated. So when you get an error, you get an error. Yes. So search, right? One thing about query parameter is that it will always tell you that what that is expecting that query parameter. But you see path parameter will even tell you that the endpoint is not found, because path parameter is more like a part of the endpoint, right? So yeah, we can see that that something is missing, right? That what is missing what is a query parameter, and the query name what is called Q, right? And what it is required. So it means that to do that, we simply go back to our endpoint or our URL and we provide a question mark, and then after the question mark, we provide what Q. Remember, this thing must be called Q, and then equal sign whatever what we intended to do what to pass as a query value, which in this case I will pass Nigeria in this case, and then click on what or enter, and we'll see what I see that actually did work, saying that what that search concerning what Nigeria, so that the value there from that query can now be extracted and used within our what function. We can search for other things, and then we say that becomes what dynamic. That becomes dynamic. I will search for Ghana, and that should do what work. So you have what search concerning what Ghana, and search for wherever, and search for wherever Mexico, search between the what to Mexico. And like I said, this thing must be called Q, means that this payment must be called Q. Say, probably if I provide something else, say hello, and that should still was to an error saying that what that is expecting what a query called Q. The hello you provided there is not what we were expecting, or Fast API has no idea about such query called hello. So that must be called what? That must be called Q. Question. Question. All right. No question. All right. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay.
I think that's a
Let's look at
question.
other ones. Okay. Question.
But please, can you combine paths and query parameters together?
Yes, we can combine path and query parameters together. Matter of fact, we can combine all the parameters provided in fast API together, which we are going to see that we're going to try that out as well. Okay, we're going to try that out as well. All right. So, like I said, you can also have multiple query parameters. So, you can also have queue. You can also have another one called size. Probably, I'm thinking of a query called size or pagination. That's where you mostly see pagination. That's where you mostly see pagination, right? And then so it means that if I should go back again and do this, then I should tell me that what that is. It's also expecting what another query call pagination, and it's not provided. So I can just simply add that by doing what, adding ampersand there, and then putting pagination, and then saying probably 10, right? And that actually works. Right. So that's where that expression where you want to have more than one query parameters, and you can have as many as what as you want. You can have as many as you want. Is that okay? You can have as many as you want. So quickly, and before we can come back and see how we can combine all these things, right? Quickly before we can come back and see how we can combine all these things, we're going to look at another method of doing what of getting another method of getting values or values from what from the client side, from the client side, from the client side, and this other method is known as what the request body. Request body. So we covered part, we covered query. Let's look at what request body. Any question again before we proceed to request body? So request body will require us to make a post request. So we have to make up our what post now. So request body is basically information that we send as a post request, a put or whatever request we it is, but then it's a post a request that's basically mean that is basically done when submitting a JSON format or a JSON standard kind of information, right? So assuming you have some collection of items, say that follows what a JSON standard, and then you want to send all these items together all at once to what to our endpoint, then we can send that, right? You can send that either using path or query, but then it is not too wonderful to do that. In fact, matter of fact, that is the most terrible endpoint that you could ever create, because there's some information that should not go to your path, that should not appear in your path, right? If information like, let's assume I'm coming to your let's say I want to create an account with you, but then you're telling me that I should to create an account, I have to know what type my name in your path, type my email, type my password, and all those things, which doesn't actually make sense, right? So in a situation where we have, so I'm going for a form now. It's a situation where we have where we need to submit an information as a JSON format. Now that information that's being submitted is Fast API sees it as a request body, right? That information that we submit, Fast API sees it as a request body, right? So it sees it as a request body, and then this request body can be handled in several ways. Request body can be handled in several ways. Okay, so now let's see how we can actually do that. Let's see one of the ways how we can actually handle request body. So assuming we have a form, right? Say a form that contains a name, right? A form that contains name is a savior, probably contains email, sample at gmail.com. Probably also contain age, 1,000, and probably also contains maybe password. It could contain password as well. Probably a bunch of password. Say 11111 password. And then this information needs to be sent to our URL. to our endpoint, to our route. Now, well, we can still pass this as query, and it will do what? And it will work. And it will do what? It will work. And at the same time, we can still pass this as well as path parameters one by one, and it will do what? Work. But then there's another convenient way that we can do what? Pass all this information without this information being what? Displaying on our URL, and that method is what we call request body, right? So we can basically set it as a request body. So it will package it in a JSON standard and do what? Send it to our endpoint and do what? We collect this information as it is and do what? And use it as we see fit. And we can do that. We can do that. And we can do that by doing what? We can do that by specifying a schema, what we call a model, more like a model or a class, right? We can do that as a class. And what is a class? A class is more like a blueprint of what? Of an object. So we can provide a class that says that we are expecting certain things, name, email, and what age and password, and then we are expecting our as a post request. So we break it down. So whatever, first of all, let us do what let us create the endpoint that accept what post request first, and then we see how we can package that up. So it doesn't confuse us. So it doesn't actually confuse us. Right. So I'll copy this. As usual, we should be convenient with copying and editing. And I will simply just call this man request body. So I'll call this man request body. Request body. And we put in this air route down there. And now, for now, I'll not provide any query parameter. So I will simply just say call this. I'll simply call this login for now. It should be lower cases. Login for now, and probably just return logged in message maybe. All right, so let's test this out. So this will be post and not this. Post. So let's test that out in our post man. So I will simply create a URL. So I'll copy this endpoint that we have here. All right. So I'll copy this URL and then I will go to my postman and I'll press that there. And I'll say this URL is going to we have let's confirm login. And this should be what a post request. And it says not found. Let's be sure that it's available, which it is. Let's try it one more time. It's not found. Let's confirm. Exactly is going on. Yes, I think my server is handy. And it refuse not to happen. Right, let me close my terminal and bring it back up. Server is what's the one? Right, so let's try that again. So I will navigate to our folder, turn on my environment, activate my development server. So dmd/script/activate. Then we see the domain. Then we click on again. Say name. We say app. We say dash dash port. And this class 8080. And I will say dash dash reload. All right. So we are up and running. So let's try that again and see if that is working. I think that's not us. Let's see. So what we do is we wrap it up there for tonight, and on Wednesday we pick it up from where we stopped and wrap it up, completing the request body alongside with other parameters, probably violation as well. And that will be that for this week. So let's stop there for tonight and meet on Wednesday, 5 p.m. West African time.